I don't know how it started, I don't know what you did. Now I'm the gal that's chasing you up, flip my lid. Come here, eager beaver, baby.
Hello and welcome to
Was That an Orgy? Woo!
starring Charlene and Teresa Bawd, two sisters that explore the topics of sex, sexuality, gender, and sex positivity. We will also try to answer the question, was that an orgy? Oh my gosh, is it time for your psychic fisting?
We're
time
here and
for
we're
the
ready
psychic
for the
fisting.
psychic
fisting.
with extra psychic lube.
That's right.
Yes.
Now put a second hand in. Now clap. Yes.
I can't clap. I can't. It's too tight.
Oh my God, that's tight.
You're so tight. Your psychic blowhole is so tight. Today we have a very special guest, and I really like this element of what's happening today. We have a guest that that has a lot to share, but needs to remain anonymous. Ooh, how
so
mysterious! It's
a
great.
woman of mystery.
Yeah.
And delight.
Got to keep you guessing.
Yeah. Call or text in if you can see her, because that's not what we want or need. Okay, good.
But I just want to say boobs.
Yeah. And boobs. She looks amazing. Boobs. Yeah.
I think I always say that
Motor
when
in. And I'll just throw it out there. I think it's fine to say call, text, email with any questions. You know, because today we're just gonna shoot the shit, and it's like sitting afoot, hearing some awesome campfire stories from an experienced but ethical slut. Can we say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because like what I think's interesting already. I just met you one time. That break. You guys know each other real well. Is that you're one of those people that seems to walk both sides of the fence. Be able to. You're a parent and hold a very stable conservative job and be able to live this other life. You walk both sides of that zany, sexy fence and probably get high-centered sometimes. I'm stuck.
If I'm lucky, I can have fun in both areas. But yeah, I do try to keep them separate because of the industry I work in and so forth. But yeah, I do try to. But at the same time, I do love going to the clubs, and when I see the IT guy there, I'm like, well, he's here too, so he can't say anything either.
From
that
the
type
same
of thing.
place you work at.
Yeah, that has
that's
happened
so
before.
cool.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
I'm so glad I don't know where you work, because then I can't fuck it up. And slip.
This is true.
Yeah.
I no longer work there, and at
Yeah.
the time, he was actually. I had to duck underneath my friends and say, "Oh my goodness, the IT guy is here!" And I ducked, and then I'm like, "Oh, he's a contractor. I don't sign his paycheck, so we're okay." Because that would have been a problem.
Oh
Yeah.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've definitely been in that position before, where like I will go on a dating site, and it was when I managed a big group of people, and I was so afraid that I would somehow wind up crossing paths on a dating site with someone that I managed or something like that. So I always had to just like show my tits, pretty much. I'd just be like, no face for you until I can confirm that you don't work for me and I don't work for you. And
So your profile picture was your boobs?
well, covered, but like cleavage.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just,
but yeah.
just the bust without the head. Usually the bust means
Yes.
bust up. But
Yeah.
just the bust.
Just the bust.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on mine, I have an alternate name, so I do that, and then I
With your face?
I've gotten a little bit more. A little bit more
Brave,
daring, and I
daring.
do have more my face and my hair and stuff. But before, I would always have a wig on, like it would be like full party gear, and I'm like,
Gotcha.
no one's gonna recognize me,
Right,
Yeah, but
exactly.
now it's like,
Yeah.
well, at this point, we'll see.
Yeah.
But
And when you said the clubs, you mean like the swinger clubs, like
yeah,
sex positive
the
clubs.
sex positive clubs.
Like,
There's a few here. There's Sanctuary, and then the original one that I had gone to, the very first one was at the time Sesso, and now it's Privada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, it's great not knowing anything.
Yeah, no, please ask away. This is perfect.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, how long did you have a period in your life where everything was kind of more on the straight and narrow, and then you had like a busting out, like
A glow up.
yeah,
Oh,
a glow up.
absolutely.
Your life
Oh,
glowed
no,
up.
this is fun.
Yay,
I'm glad.
yay.
I'm actually glad you don't know anything.
Yeah.
So my 20s was my first marriage, a relationship, and I have 2 children out of that. And then my second marriage of pretty much 10 years was my 30s. And at 40, I figured out how to actually orgasm. And,
Wow.
and divorced the husband number 2. I'm like, you're not doing it right. And so, and at that point, and I had 2 children from that marriage as well. And so at 41, here I am. I'm divorced for the second time, and I have 4 children. 4 children.
Finally orgasming.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so when a friend tried to get me out of my like slump of like, because I thought, sadly, I actually thought, what do I have to offer, and which was not that I was like, I'm a confident woman, I'm fine, I'm just gonna work on my career but dating is dead to me because I don't want another husband. I don't want another monogamous and honestly, I didn't even know what non-monogamy was. That's the amazing thing is that I
come
didn't
a long way, baby.
Oh yeah. So I'm 47 now. So if you can imagine, this is all in 6 years that I have transformed from this, and there were a couple things within my marriage. We did play around with my now ex-husband, but his best friend and his wife, and we like kind of nurtured a relationship that kind of kept on opening and opening. Like at first it was like no kissing, but but you can blow them, but no kissing, because that's that's too personal.
Intimate.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
So it evolved slowly, and then finally it was just like and then so that couple asked me to go out to Pravada, and it had just turned to Pravada, and we found Sesso that was a great date night for us because
Is Sesso another club? This is how ignorant I am.
so
Okay.
Sesso was the original Pravada, and then it closed down. It was owned. It was related to Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
And then it closed.
I heard of that place. Okay.
And so it closed down, and it had some issues with coding and stuff. Anyway, and it took a few months for them to reopen. And so when they did, that just so happened to be when I was newly single, and that couple asked me to be their unicorn for the night. And get me out of the house. And while I was there, another couple stopped me and said, "We'd really like to talk to you." And I'm like, "What's the etiquette on this? Like, I'm on a date with this couple, but this couple wants to talk to me."
Yeah.
And I did something so foolish. Okay, if I can give anyone any type of advice, never bring your business cards to a sex club. I handed my real business card to the couple.
Oh, no.
And so Wednesday, I'm in the office, and I get a call on my personal line in my office, and she says, "Hi, yes, we met at Pravada on Friday," and I almost shit myself.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Anyone here?" Like, oh my goodness. And she's like, no, she reassured me that she was a professional herself, and that, discretion and all that stuff. And she had asked if I wanted to join her and her boyfriend on Friday. And I said, "Oh, I thought he was your husband." She goes, "Oh, that was my husband, but I'm going out with my boyfriend on Friday." And head exploded.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I sign up for this?
Yeah.
And then she explained to me what non-monogamy was and the ethical slut, and I ran out and bought the book, and
So cool.
So that was my kind of intro into it. And then once I discovered it, it was like, yep, this is for me. So
cool.
yeah.
Wow.
It's like, it's once you, if it is what's for you, once you discover it, you're just like, how did I even survive? And before I found this, like,
Absolutely.
it just feels absolutely right. It's like, oh, finally shoes that fit.
Yeah. Well, and it's an ongoing trying on the shoes, because at that time, like when I first read Ethical Slut, I get something totally different out of it now, because of my experience. But back then it was just like, okay, there's a whole smorgasbord of options. What do I want? And I thought the ideal situation was a triad, that I would want to be a part of another couple, and this would be perfect. They belong to me, I belong to them, and we'll all live in harmony. And I've totally gone kind of away from that in the fact that I love my freedom. I don't want to belong
Yeah.
to anyone, and
Yeah.
I don't want to take away anyone's freedom.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's so I guess I identify more with solo poly. Once I heard that definition, it's like I don't answer to anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm super transparent. I all my people know all of my people, and when I have Thanksgiving dinner, it's around all of my lovers, you know, and my children are around there too. You know, it's not like it's just my chosen family.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Oh,
Wow,
that's
that's great.
cool. God, I love
Yeah,
that.
so your kids know about your lifestyle, and
My
they're-
older two know. My younger ones, they are around it. They don't bat an eye whether I have a female over or a male over. You know, no one's making out in front of them. You
Right.
know, they just see, you know, that I have lots of friends. And
Right.
often, you know, we're playing board games. I mean, a lot of times, like 8 of us are all playing board games. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they don't associate me with some one person.
Yeah, that's
Right.
and that's such a great thing that I love for people to give examples of and clarify, because I think there's this misconception, you know, when people hear about polyamory, non-monogamy, those kinds of relationships, that they imagine it's just very sex-centered, all about sex all the time, or that it's just nothing but sex. And I'm sure some
Right.
relationships are like that, and that's great, but it doesn't have to be just all about it.
No.
A lot of the
Yeah.
time it is about the friendship and the relationships and the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And I think we have a
sure.
question.
Yeah. Does my company
Uh-oh, we lost
basically
it.
it's
Oh, you got it.
it was does my company actually have any grounds to basically could this person get in trouble if their
there it
company
is.
knows that they're does the company actually have any legal ground to do anything if they know about me going to private sex clubs?
Great question, actually.
That is a great question, and I think it depends probably more on like where you work and if you manage people and if you are client facing, that kind of stuff. Like that could be problematic. I don't think legally there's a whole lot they could do because what you do in your free time is your free time. But I think it could be tricky if they're like, you know, a super conservative company and let's say, you know, like you're the front salesperson for this really conservative client that you have or something like that. And they somehow found out. I don't know how they would find out. Like if they're in the sex club too, then you know that they know that you know that they know. So I don't know.
Right.
But I guess maybe that could be problematic, but I tend to not worry too much about it.
For me, it's more, and I'll be very vague, it's more being able to be promoted within a male industry and being taken seriously in a boardroom.
Yeah, right.
And so when I go to work, I'm very conservative. I do not have any femininity to me at all. I really try to be, you know, as benign as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
And
like
and I
almost
do
asexual
really
too.
I really do try to, and I know my place. I, you know, unfortunately have to play that role of, you know, kind of a submissive woman in the fact that I only speak unless I'm spoken to type of thing, and only when it's about the field that I'm in.
Wow.
So it's a very different, but I work hard but boy, on the weekend I play even harder. Yeah. I let loose. So,
Shake it all off.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Isn't it
yeah.
amazing to feel like I basically do the same thing. Like I have this not a really conservative job because I work with really cool people, luckily in design industry, but you do have this like super serious part of your brain, this function that you have to be in. And it's like, it is a valve. Like once I switch the valve, that part's gone, this other part's taking over. And it's like, it feels really good to be able to kind of shut that piece down because it's just a role that you play. This, your career doesn't define you. It's just a part of who you are.
Well, and just as being an ethical slut doesn't define me, that's not the only thing that I have of
Right.
value.
Yes.
It's being able to be a, you know, have lots of different facets, and we can be good at many, many things, and we turn them on at different points. I mean, at one point I was super big into my art, and now my art room, well, actually since the divorce, has been completely shut down, you know, and that's just not where I'm putting my energy.
It's not where you're getting your dopamine these
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have found much better places.
I understand that one.
Yeah. Exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's interesting. I don't have a life like that where everything's kind of compartmentalized, for lack of a better word. You know, I'm just kind of like the open shit show, you know, for doing massage therapy like most of my adult life, and then being in 3 bands and fucking around. Now I'm starting to fuck around with comedy a little bit more and stuff like that. And, you know, yeah, so it's interesting to imagine having a life where you have to compartmentalize and keep parts of yourself kind of under lock and key. Sounds a little stressful, if you ask me.
Well, it is. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I've chosen, and I can't really think of another way of doing it and providing for my family. So
Yeah, like your job, it would not transfer so easily to another company or something like that.
No.
Darn.
Yeah.
Well, you'll just have to keep playing hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We should make a company called fuckingfuckers.com. .fart. Yeah, I don't know.
.com.
I'll find my role in there.
.com.
No
We'll
problem.
start the new .com industry together.
There we go. I like it.
.com.
Well, I'm curious, like, so do you have, now that you're doing beyond monogamy, do you have, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be like the third in a triad. Do you have a preference, or you know, are you eclectic in what kind of relationships?
I am.
What roles
The
you
way
like
I
to-
look at it is when I meet somebody or say a couple, you know, and that I do have relationships, a very deep relationship with a couple, and what it is, and that about they all seem to mostly evolve very organically. And when I see and meet somebody that I am attracted to, and it might not even be sexually, so I'm talking about any relationship, not just my sexual relationships, and I'm intrigued by them, and I respect them in a way that's like, wow, like who they are. I'm like, and I'm enamored by them, and then it just, you start spending some time with them, and then sometimes it does turn into more of a sexual relationship, and I just kind of feel like letting it go until it just doesn't feel like it's going to grow anymore, and then maintain it and just leave it at that. Don't expect it to be anything else. And as long as you're not expecting it to be anything else, you don't get disappointed, and you can have them in your life forever.
Right.
So, I kind of have a tribe is the way I look at it. It's like, I have really good people around me, and I love deeply. And I know every once in a while, you know, I have those moments, Valentine's Day is not a day for me, but you know, it's not like, oh, this Hallmark day is like super important or anything like that. But
Every day is Valentine's Day in your world. So
as an
that makes sense to me.
as an example, though, it's that when I do see those moments of like a couple that have each other, and like, and you know, and I have that ping of like, oh, I wish I was somebody's number one. You know, there are those times, and I do. You know, I do have that longing sometimes, and I remind myself that I'm loved by many, not just because I'm not loved by one. You know, as a priority doesn't make me make it less.
I think that's a big challenge for a lot of us to get over, because I definitely feel like for me, I mean, some people really make that work, but for me, I think that it used to give me a false sense of security, because how many times did I feel like that with someone who cheated on me, you know? And so in those cases, it was like a false sense of security that I was getting from being told I was number one, and then kind of like, you know, holding someone to this prison of lies that they feel like they need to hold up,
Right.
you know, instead of being able to just open up and let go of that false sense of security.
Right.
I deal with that too.
Well, and also, I mean, that's what I feel about marriage. It's a false sense of security. You have to think about the consequences, and so you stay with it, and it's an obligation, and it just has. Anyways, I that's the one I have. Everyone has their baggage and so forth, and one of the things that does appeal to me within the polyamory world, is that. I hate feeling obligated, like I'm an obligation. It's really like it's that's a trigger for me. Like in a fairly small event, and I feel like I'm an obligation, and I'm like, I'm out. Like I really don't. I'm like, I want everything to be, you know, I want people to be around me because they want to be around me. I don't want it to be because they feel like they're responsible to or need to.
You're chosen. It's authentic.
Yeah.
It's,
I choose you every minute.
Yeah, exactly.
right,
And it does hurt, like if they have a date with somebody else and you want it, and it's like they chose to be with that person, but it's like, but guess what? When they're with me, that's proof that they wanted to be with me. They had an option to be with somebody else, but when they're with me, that's because they want to be.
Exactly.
So it actually has, even though they have that ping, but it's also proof that they're with who they want to be.
right.
So
yeah, I know what you mean. I'm curious too, given the contrast of your life that seems like, there was not a lot of validation for your own sexual experience. Did you come from a religious past? Like, were you taught that was a no-no? Like,
oh goodness, my
you can
upbringing
say,
was
like-
so colorful. No, it's
boy.
so different.
Oh boy.
my grandma was a nun for 7 years, and then she started getting headaches. And when she saw my grandpa, she started getting headaches, and so she got out of the nunnery at like 30 and had 8 kids with my grandpa. Wow! And I teased her. I'm like, Grandma, that's not a headache. She was saying Jesus was telling her that she needed to have a family, and I said, Grandma, you were just horny. So she had 8 children. My mom was number 7. And my mom got pregnant when she was 17 with me. And my father was very much the playboy, and my mom was, if you can imagine, the Wonder Woman. The tall, dark-haired, blue
Linda
eyes.
Carter?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
My mom was a dead ringer for her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At 17. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, he had his friends over. She was young, obviously. He was 24, and he had a house with a pool down in LA. And I would be swimming in the water with my scuba gear and goggles and stuff like that. Everyone was naked, and my parents finally got pulled aside, like, can you please tell her not to can you take away her scuba gear so she's not like looking at all of our junk all the time? And I'm like, what? There's Playboys everywhere. It's like, I just thought, nudity was nothing. And it is funny, when I did come out to my mother about my new lifestyle, she was like, we weren't swingers, I swear.
Yeah.
They were just nudists. Yeah. I'm like, it doesn't catch, Mom. It's okay. But I did get swatted by my grandma once. Apparently I was watching The Sound of Music when I was like 6, and I was rubbing my clit, and I didn't even know it. And my grandma came by and slapped me in the head and said, that's disgusting. You're going to go to hell. And that's my only... How old were you? Like 6. Oh. That's my only remembrance of ever really being sexual at a young age. Yeah. I did know I aspired to be a Playboy model so that my dad would be proud of me, type of thing.
Oh, that's adorable.
And yeah, you always want your dad's approval.
Right.
Never did attempt or go there, but anyways. And then, so that's kind of it. Nudity was not a problem. And oh no, my parents would go out, and I had the hottest babysitter. I don't know where my dad got her from, but she was like right out of the Playboy magazine, blonde and bodacious, and just, anyways. And she would come. Her name was Stacy, and she would sit on the bed. She would find my dad's porn, and we would sit on the bed and watch it. And we moved out of the house at
like
10. Videos. Full-on videos. So, and we moved out of that house at 10. So this was, she was great. Yeah. I was entertained.
Ours showed us horror movies. We still have PTSD from being forced to watch Jaws and what was...
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Okay, I like my babysitter
Yeah,
better.
yours was much better. We would have much rather watched porn.
So sex was not ever a thing for me, like but also I strived to keep my virginity till I was 17. For whatever reason, I had it in my head that I didn't want. And then I wish I was more of a slut when I was younger. I mean, by the time I got married, I think I could count my lovers on one hand.
How old were you when you got married?
21.
21. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's young.
So
yeah.
So
but then you just were like, it sounds like you weren't supported to explore your sexuality, or you weren't taught that your sexuality was important, and probably the message of, even touching your clit when you're 6 years old and being swatted by your grandma was, a clear message that that's disgusting. Your sexuality should be repressed.
Right. And my mom believed that sex should mean something. Like you should, not that it was wrong to have sex before marriage or anything like that, but that, that it was something that you gave to your husband, and that's when you explored. And that's when you explored. And then when I didn't have husbands that wanted to explore, and I'm like, but I'm dressed up, I've got this,
I went to Victoria's Secretions and I bought all this stuff.
They were okay with pegging, but they wouldn't.
But your needs,
my needs
exploration
were not.
didn't matter.
Correct.
Yeah.
My fulfillment was not addressed.
Right. And then that all came out like, was it like the beginning to swing that brought that out, or like, because it sounds like, it really was, very sudden.
There was one moment in my first marriage as well, towards the end, and it was not the end of the marriage. It was just, I found myself attracted to a female. And I had not had a relationship with a woman at that time. And I brought it up to my husband. He said, oh, well, that's not cheating. You can go ahead and do that. I want to be invited.
And watch.
Yeah, exactly. And so when that relationship started, and he was like, can you talk her into letting me join, that type of thing. And I'm like, but I'm enjoying her. And and the thing was, I felt desired for the first time in like 10 years. And so opening that desire box up was for me, like, I'm like, why am I withering away and with no desire or passion in my marriage at all? And we did not divorce for this reason. It was a very failed marriage for many, many reasons. But it did make me wake up. Like it was just like, I did not want to be divorced like my parents were. And so I thought, I've got 2 kids. I want to keep everything together. This is not sexy.
Sacrifice yourself to keep your
exactly.
family together.
And I do not want to be like, I don't want to be that. So I tried and tried until I saw that when my husband would walk in the door, not only would I go, oh goodness, what are we dealing with now? But then I would see my son and my daughter do the same thing. And I was like, this is how I'm teaching my son to treat a female later, and how my daughter's gonna think she should be treated. And so I got the hell out.
Love. This is what loving family looks like.
Sorry, not sexy, but anyways. But that was but that was like my exploding moment was actually feeling desired, and it really made me start feeling worth of something, because he did not make me, not that anyone should make you feel that way, but I had lost that identity.
And so that's huge.
That's a good way to put it. You had lost that identity.
And so it was nice for her to find it again.
And that's a common basic need. I think that we all share. If I can project on everybody.
Totally. We've all felt like the dirty dish towel.
Exactly.
It's no good.
There's no lonelier feeling than when you're with someone and feeling, more alone being with that person than when you are by yourself. I've been there too.
Absolutely.
Because then you don't even have you. When you're with someone who, makes you feel, makes you feel, bad choice of words, but when you feel undesired, unworthy, unlovable,
taken for granted.
Invisible, all those things.
I remember a gentleman being flirty with me, and he says, you're being wasted. And that really kind of stung. And then I'm like, you know what? He's fucking right. I am being wasted. Nothing happened there, but it was just such a blunt way to say, like, you're being, you deserve so much more. But
God, my cum crypts are all empty right now.
What's a cum crypt?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
It's like,
school me.
Like up all those areas. All those.
Do we have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
we
I missed it.
All right. Well, I'm going back
to
cum
cum gutters
crypts.
are like, in your abs.
Well, cum crypts are inside your pussy. But I guess you might have some in your butthole too, like just.
All I think of is like the gang members, the Crips and the Blood. Little gang member. What was the question?
We didn't see the question. We totally missed it.
All right. It'll come back up. Drum roll. Cunnilingus drum roll. Well, until it comes up, I'll just like ask too. Then that must have been mind-blowing and other things blowing as well when you became like liberated into this scene. Oh, here it is. You read it. You're a better reader.
Does the mystery guest date only couples? Is her husband was involved in the selection process? I noticed that in swinging, often the male is taking that role and the female desires are not always considered. That I've noticed that as well in swinging, that often happens, but
The selection. Well, I wonder if what the questioner was wondering about, just the selection of women or a selection of men as well. You only a couple swapped with one other couple.
So
when you were
there was
married,
only
right?
one relationship within my marriage, and even that we never even got to the full Monte because of a jealousy issue with my husband, surprisingly. But I want to answer this in two ways, because I think in regards to that particular situation, it was just the convenience of knowing them and being
Right.
comfortable with them.
Wasn't much of a selection process at all to be had.
And she's amazing, and she still is in my life, and
fantastic.
yes, it is. So I think I was got to the point where I was comfortable, because I was like, okay, I choose you. And my husband was just like, I want to fuck her. So I mean,
I approve.
I approve because I really would like to fuck her. So even though to my knowledge he never really got to. But anyways, but in regards to men choosing in, one of the things I absolutely love about lifestyle in general, this all in generalist terms or what have you, is that at the sex clubs, the women dominate. The women are the ones that choose. The men are really not the ones that are. It's a totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
If you're sitting at a bar as a sex club and you walk over to somebody, it's not like, oh, what are you? What are you doing? Or you must be a loser or something.
Yeah.
Whereas when I sit at a heterosexual bar, it's, it feels completely different. I'm the prey versus at the sex club, I get to make the decisions. I get to be far more bold.
I find this
That's
very
how I feel
interesting, and it's one of the reasons that I haven't really explored these clubs, is because of that dynamic. And so it's interesting to me that, having not been to these clubs before, any of them, that this intimidation that I have about, sort of imagining a culture where sexual energy is heightened, that I might feel more overwhelmed and dominated by this kind of ferocious, tenacious sexual energy. It sounds intimidating, but that's not your experience. It's the opposite. You feel more liberated.
Absolutely. So I go.
That's
I
awesome.
have no problem going to Sanctuary. Is an amazing lounge. It has a lounge type atmosphere, and I called it my second home. And in fact, my ex-husband would go there with his girlfriend, and they'd be like, oh, you're here again. And and it's like, hey, I got the night off, this is my entertainment too.
Would you go there by yourself?
Yes.
You feel comfortable going
Absolutely.
there by yourself?
Absolutely.
I have too,
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's an extremely comfortable place. It is more open to the public now. It's more well known now. So we don't have, there was a pretty good core group of us lifestylers that would go on a very regular basis. And that has slowed down a lot. And so there are more other people that are discovering it. And so that has a different feel to it for me. So it doesn't.
Is that where you met your sexual tribe?
Yes and no. For the most part, I would say yes. Would see them there and then see them at another place or a private party at home, or not my home, but at somebody else's. And then it would be like, hey, we have a common,
We know you.
Yeah. And the best way to meet them is actually in an orgy. It is so much fun. Like, hey.
Wow. Yeah, that's the other part of your story I'm curious about too. Is then what did your life turn into?
Yeah. Like your first orgy, what was that about? How did that go? Or if you'd rather start telling the story of the underpants story on Facebook, that cracked me up so bad.
Well, I find undergarments at my house, and I have one gentleman that comes and visits me from across the country, and if they were male, I'd put them in his drawer, assuming that they were his. And he would come for a visit, and he's like, "These aren't mine. These aren't mine. These aren't mine." And I'm like, "Well, what am I gonna do? One of these days, I'm gonna have to just post it on Facebook. Like, whose are these, right?"
Yeah.
So I finally do.
Oh my God.
I finally do, and because I was cleaning up for Thanksgiving, and everyone has to use the master bathroom, and I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to clean up after all these, so finally
Orgy
got a good
leftovers.
spring cleaning, and I found these, and I'm like, whose are these boxers? And so finally, I just like, fuck it. And so I took a picture, and I said, "Troubles of a true slut. Whose are these?" or something along those lines. And I got 2 messages, which is funny, private messages, 2 people claiming them.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm like, so do I do a Cinderella story? But one is a female friend of mine, and one is the guy from across the country, and he's like, "The one time you don't just put them in my drawer."
Oh, that's great. They were really cute undies,
They
I have
were.
to say.
I love that one pair belonged to a woman. They are really comfortable. I've done that, when I'm at a boyfriend's house, from years gone by, and you don't want to put on your clitty litter filled panties again, so you're like, "Can I borrow some of yours?" "Oh, they're so wonderful and cottony and roomy. Yeah, nothing's going up your ass." Not in the moment.
To.
Yeah, exactly. So you started getting into exploring orgies, and like, did you ever even explore like public sex in the clubs?
Well, at first, okay, so I'm trying to even think of when my first orgy was. It would have been at Bawd, and it would have been up in their upstairs
At the club?
At the club.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and their upstairs is all open. So, I'm pretty sure, that would have been where my first one was. When Sanctuary opened up, one of the first things I said is, "There's no way I'm ever having sex in here because there's no doors."
Yeah.
And so that really intimidated me. And I'm like, and people I was with, I'm like, "You have sex over at Bawd all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know the people there," because Sanctuary was such a small group of people I knew. I'm like, I'm not having sex in front of people I know.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Right.
And but sure enough, it didn't take a couple weeks, and there was no problems there. But
got over it.
I got over it really
Right.
quick.
Just out of curiosity, because I can, really empathize with that thought of like, well, I can't do that. How many times do you think it took you? Like, was it just kind of like, I mean, there must have been a jumping off point that you had where you went from just trying it once, like, fuck it, I'm going to try this.
So what I find is I have do this thing that I have nicknamed less drunk. When I really get into the mood to have sex with somebody, nothing else matters. And whoever's around, the environment doesn't matter. And I go into a mode of just being with them, and it can be in the center of the couch in the middle of Sanctuary now. It does not matter. And I have gotten out of that fog and seen standing room only, and had no idea that I was being watched. Yeah. Wow. I did have one incident, and I will say this got taken care of very, very quickly, and they've changed policies. But I did have one situation where I was being recorded, and they swooped up and got that camera really darn quick, and now they don't allow any of that. But good. So, but
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm so unaware of what's going on around me, and I'm becoming far and far more like maybe I should start checking in on my surroundings a little bit, but
I don't know.
But
it pulls you out.
Yeah, that's right. That would RIP your boner, I would imagine. So there had to be at least the first time that you told yourself I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna just lean into the fear and try it.
they have one room that we've nicknamed the silhouette room that is a bit dark, and it just has like a glowing light. So really all that you can see is silhouettes, obviously. And to let you know, it's not modesty that had me worried. It was that I get nervous about I've had 4 children, and I'm a little bit soft in the belly. And so I have, it's like, I don't want people seeing my jiggly bits.
Yeah.
And so that is what, and then when I realized that, one, I still have amazing, beautiful lovers, and they don't give a shit. And it doesn't change the caliber of lovers that I have. I've really gotten over it. And it's like, I'll show my jiggly bits, you guys.
Yeah.
If it deters you, then you're not worthy of my attention anyways. So it really has helped almost. I don't want to say helped, but I have gotten far more confident in my body.
Maybe the shadow puppetry porno room was like your training wheels.
Yes. Once I got over that, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, you're like, it's all fine. They love it. They love me. Take it. Look at it all.
Look at, they're looking.
Yes. Look, we touch. We cannot touch.
No.
Yeah.
We are our own worst critics, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're brainwashed to be that way. It's not like, where we come up with this, airbrushing in magazines and all that crap,
Oh my
know.
God.
It doesn't help that when
Yeah.
your husband says, oh no, I mean, being,
Yeah.
anyways, we won't
Yeah,
go
you
back
don't
into
look
that.
like a Barbie anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's
It really does do a number on you. But it did, that's one of the things that I have to say about lifestyle is it has done an amazing number on my self-esteem.
that's what, so something I was asking Shar about it too, like what did it do for your self-esteem? And it's wonderful to hear that it's really helped women actually let go of a lot of that dysmorphia, that, that warped body image, and and I bet that being able to be seen and still feel desired is a really good sort of reframing for oneself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really
sounds
has taught
healing.
me to also be very, you have bumps in the roads. I've taken one for the team. My date, or the guy I was dating at the time, really wanted to be with this woman, and I was like, I'm not really feeling it. And
With you, like
he wanted it to be a couples thing. So
Right.
and it wasn't the other couple that I just wasn't feeling it, but I did it anyways, and I just felt ick, and I told myself I would never ever take one for the team again. It's like, if I'm not feeling it, I can say, not today, and be okay with it. And I've been told not today, and I don't take it personally because that's where we really should be. We should be like, are you feeling it now? No, okay, and one of these times it might work out, and
Yep.
Exactly.
And hopefully people are as good about saying, hey, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
As I've heard that said at that one SPP party that I went to.
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
It's a
thank you
great
for taking
phrase.
care of yourself.
Yeah.
That is the way to
I've
respond
never heard
to
that.
it.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good
Someone
one.
said that to me once.
Okay.
When someone wanted to make out, and I was like, it's not personal. I'm just in the moment. I don't even know you.
Yeah.
You said, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yep.
And I was like, God, that's hot.
Yeah.
Get back here.
I
Listening.
recently. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, just listening to yourself is really what I've,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even have to do anything with that person. It could be something I'm dealing with at home or anything. It's just not now. There's just nothing wrong with that. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then you know that your yeses are real desire, and it really does help put you in touch with your actual desires, even for what you want for dinner. Or it's like, the more you listen to your body, the more you're going to continue to listen to your body and your heart and everything. So
I have a fun one.
Oh yay.
Okay. It also helps you trust, when you have that little devil on your shoulder and you're like, ooh, that sounds like fun. It allows you to speak up and and it's like people can say no.
Yeah.
And so my first time ever being flogged,
Which, by the way, for people that don't know, is flogging. Not everyone knows what that is. Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that
I don't know if
crazy?
I could describe it.
It's.
Go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like being whipped with something with multiple tassels.
Like
and
a cat of nine tails, or bigger, or smaller.
I mean, they could be a range of sizes, and
Okay.
what is most important is what it's constructed out of, whether it's softer or harder. It's going to be stingy or more like a dull impact, and how hard the person is doing it.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, I was watching him do it to another girl, and it was a big, heavy leather one, and so it was very soft and like kind of a thump, and then like a drag down, and then a thump and a drag down her back.
Yeah.
And she was beautiful, and she was up against a pillar, and it was just such a beautiful sight, and I could tell she was responding to it, and I was like, gosh, that kind of looks good. That looks and so when she was done, she didn't know him, and so she went away, and so I went over and I said, hey, do you mind, giving me a try? Like, can I try it? And so he's like, sure. He goes, but you're better off naked. I'm like, sure, no problem. So dropped my dress and did the same pose she did. And I found my body responding and like kind of backing into it. And I was like, oh my goodness, like my body's actually responding to this.
Yeah.
And I had this vision. I'm like, oh my goodness, it'd be so awesome to be riding my boyfriend's cock while I'm being flogged. Yes. And so I turned around and asked the guy, I didn't even know his name. I said, would you mind going upstairs to the balcony while I ride my boyfriend and you flog my back? And he's like, I've never done that before. Sure.
Oh my God.
That's so great.
So I was just like, and it was just in that moment right then. And it was like, I didn't know this guy. He's in this kink environment, and the fact that I had asked him to do something he had never done before either was pretty astounding to me. But it was fun. I mean, my boyfriend at the time had a little bit of a performance anxiety, but it still was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
I love your creativity, but that's it. You were listening to your body, like, what could make this experience better? Oh yeah, my boyfriend's cock.
Yeah,
exactly. Where's there a fuck yes in this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Was that your first experimentation with kink? Like that kind of kink, I guess more like
because
BDSM.
that was my first flogging. I don't consider myself kinky. I like in the moment a little bit of something, but I think you'd have to be more specific. I think I've been blindfolded once.
Yeah, I meant more like BDSM, like bondage,
I've been told I do not have a submissive bone in my body.
You're more of a dom.
But I'm not. So when I'm after, I was just explaining this. When I am attracted to a female, I find that I am more dominant. That I go more. I'm the hunter.
Yeah.
But with a man, I like to be the hunted. Yeah. It has a different kind of ebb and flow. But I don't do role playing very much.
Like live in the roles.
I just
shape shifting, switching.
I just like to be very passionate and just kind of
yeah.
But I'm not a soft lover either. Like I don't.
Yeah. It's interesting too because I've heard this said before that a lot of the times what people are like. In their sex life or like the kind of roles that they play outside of their normal day-to-day personality oftentimes can be opposite from what they have to do. And you just like mentioned earlier, like in your day job, you have to be the asexual submissive, and then you get off work and it's dun 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 dun, like move your Wonder Womb man, out there just tearing it up.
Yeah, and I guess in some ways maybe it's just being able to, the freedom is more the opposite of where versus the dominant. But yeah, I don't do much of the role playing, and I don't know how successful I'd be at it if I did try.
Yeah.
It's hard not to break character, I
just really have a hard time role playing. Like just as I mentioned, coming onto here, I was nervous. I'm like, I'm not a performer. I can't. I don't memorize lines. I don't, that type of thing.
Right,
that performance anxiety would probably take over. I remember that couple, the first couple, right? We would do a little. One of the fun things we would do is a group chat, and we would talk about a fantasy, right? And I remember us doing one of them, and then at the end, he's like, "Mel, you were supposed to say such and such," and I'm like, "Are you serious? That was a script? Like we were supposed to do a script?"
Yeah. I can see that it takes a certain amount of courage to, be an actor. I can, imagine. People could feel silly or something like that, but I think it takes a lot more bravery to actually. Like you shapeshift, you experience different roles, you show up and you're authentic, and I think that takes a lot more courage that I'm impressed with to show up and just try, just be open to all that's inside of you. And let it come up. You're exploring, and the vulnerability and the authenticity you bring to the present moment, letting yourself, what did you say? Glow
up.
Glow up. You're letting yourself glow up, That's so impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It does have a little bit of nerve-wracking when I'm heading out. I don't know what's ahead of me because I don't have anything.
exciting.
So that part is exciting, but at the same time, I do feel a little pressure. Like, it's like, okay, we had this fantastic time last time. Can I do it again? You know?
Right.
But the more and more I get out and I realize I had an amazing time, even though it was, shifted into a totally different evening than the last time, and we all had an amazing time, then it's like, well, I guess it's a success. So, but
Yeah, not having expectations is so important for all of us in relationships and in connection, because if we're trying to push an agenda, we miss the true connection that can be there.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think I want to point out, too, one of the things that I find interesting is just because I'm going to a sex club, the majority of the times I'm not actually having sex there. Okay. I had to explain my new lifestyle very early on in the beginning to a very, very, very vanilla girlfriend of mine, and vanilla meaning non-lifestyle, very prim and proper. And she, when I explained the club to her, she was like, "I'm gonna find you dead on the street somewhere in the alleyway." And I'm like, "No, I get to fuck them in the club. I don't have to leave with them. It's much safer."
Totally.
right.
I don't even have to tell them my name.
There's security guards.
It
You've
is
got
so
backup.
much safer.
Yeah, right. And there's probably condoms and all sorts of
Absolutely,
stuff
there's
there.
all of that, and
You
it's
won't
all
even
clean.
have chafing. There's lube.
Oh,
even.
fantastic.
New sheets.
They've got the sanitizer pump, and next to that, the lube pump. And
Yeah, baby wipes, towels, whatever you need.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yep,
classy.
Yeah.
And you can tell if I've been there because they'll have the slippery when wet sign out. The beds are decommissioned.
Oh my god, that's so awesome.
Oh, there's got to be there's more nickname potential in there. You were talking about your nicknames.
Yeah, that's where the Old Faithful comes
Faithful, yeah.
Oh, Old
Because-
Faithful.
from. The shoe.
Gotcha.
And DP.
Are you squirter too? Oh, wow, impressive. So cool. When did that come along? No pun intended.
Yeah. Surprisingly, it actually happened with my second husband on our second date. And it was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And because I hadn't orgasmed, I thought that was what an orgasm was. And then I did it one more time after that. And then I smelt a little tiny tinge of, and I'm like, and I convinced myself it was pee.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's pee." And so I refused to ever do it again. And
that's so
that was
sad.
the end of that until afterwards. And then I was encouraged gently that it is a beautiful thing and that it is not at all, me pissing on somebody.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, exactly.
But now it does have its limitations. Now I can't sit on somebody's face because it's a waterboarding for sure, and that's not pleasant.
Clitterboarding.
Yeah. I have questions because I'm not a squirter, at least at this point in my life, and so. Can you control it? Like, can you have an orgasm without squirting? Can you hold back the Amrita?
So
And-
it's
okay.
a different orgasm. So it's a totally different. I still feel a pressure and I still feel a release. So but it's very central, just right there. It's not the full body like orgasm when you're having a full climax.
Okay.
It can be a side effect of me climaxing. I can just. Because I'm losing my shit.
Yeah.
So there is that. And typically if I'm at home, I really don't want to do laundry. So I will hold back as much as possible.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense to me. I've thought before, like, I'm not a squirter, but I'm glad because that does seem like I don't like doing laundry. Yeah.
how much time do we have? Because I do have a funny
we got time.
accidental squirting story.
Totally.
You have to
We
tell
have
the
time.
accidental
We have
squirting
8
story.
minutes.
Oh, yeah. 8
Okay,
minutes. We're
perfect.
good. Yeah.
Okay, so at Sanctuary. and seeing people that I haven't seen in quite a while, and we're kind of huddled around. There's about 6 or 7 of us, and we're right kind of by the bar area, but just right in front. And I see a nice couple that they're just so beautiful and sweet. And we have not had any sexual experiences together, but he's always so doting and always so happy to see me, and she too. And anyways, and so it was just, we're catching up, and she had these cute, like velvety knee-high boots. And she's this cute little thing. And he's like maybe 5 foot, older gentleman and bald. And she's, anyways, it's super cute. They're the same height. But then when she has her heels on, she's a little bit taller than him. Anyway, so I was teasing her, and I went down, and I'm like, oh, so-and-so, what beautiful boots. So I'm like leaning down or, on my knees and touching her boots, and my nose is like right at her clit. And so I like just like nuzzle a little bit, like rub my knee. And so I'm like, oh, and she's like giggling and stuff. And so anyway, so then I stand up, and so he takes the opportunity to try to do the same to me. Like he like say, oh, I can do that. So he goes down to my feet, and he's like, oh, what beautiful shoes you've got. And then as he's doing this, I see a friend come in that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I'm like waving to over here. I do this often, so if I'm going out downtown, I'll wear a shirt that I can then wear as a dress at the sex club, right? So I just take off my pants, and now I've got this really short dress on. So I raise my hand up. There goes my top, right? And as he's coming up, his nose accidentally hits my raw clit, because I don't wear underwear there. And I squirted all over him. He came up looking like he was drowned rat.
Oh my God.
And his wife was just like, what? Like, what just happened? And I was mortified. And he was the happiest man ever. He was just like, oh my God. And every time we see each other now, he's just like, hi, It was just, and I was so mortified, and I was so glad he was a good sport about it, but I was like, and it was in the middle front of the bar, and my friends that I was with ran to go get towels. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, can't take me anywhere.
And you had you been with this couple before?
No.
Oh my God,
they're not a sexual
partner.
Yeah,
it's like
mine.
squirt at first sight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So luckily they were happy about that situation, but otherwise that would really.
You made him feel like the man.
Yeah. Luckily he was flattered by it. Okay. Side note, squirrel. But this reminds me. Did you guys see? Oh yeah, I sent you the Bass Against video of the lead singer of the bass. Is it called Bass Against? No, wait, not.
Yes.
Horn Against, Brass Against the Machine. Brass Against.
Yes.
That singer
Brass
peeing in the guy's face.
Yes.
Did you see that? Everyone out there listening has to look up this video. It's a Twitter video where the lead singer is like saying, I gotta go pee. Who wants to get peed on? And this fan offered, gets on stage. No. He lays down. She pulls down her white leather pants, squats over his face, and just unloads.
Yeah.
Oh, like talk about being waterboarded. You can see him like blowing. The pee is like glowing, and there's steam, coming up. Oh, it's the best. Everyone needs to watch that. Yeah. So I wouldn't call it squirting per se, but being hosed. Yeah, definitely. Squirt at first sight to the nth degree. I haven't laughed that hard in fucking years when I saw that. Yeah, I was like, I love her.
Me too. I was like, no, yes.
Yeah. Get him. Yeah. So awesome. Wow. I'm so excited by all the stories, like just how much you've transformed in such little time. It makes me wonder if there's a lot of people out there like me thinking like, I wonder if that's inside of me as well. Because probably before you glowed up, you glue up, that you probably didn't know that was in you too.
No, and I don't think anyone needs to know what path they're on or what they're taking. I think just take, listen to what you desire. Say no when you don't want to do something, but don't be embarrassed if you want to watch somebody have sex and see, like just little things. Like I didn't know if that would be a thing for me, and it's like, and that was one of the things I found. I don't mind being watched, but I don't get off on it either. It's very much like I'm very neutral on it, but it doesn't take away from my experience. Watching people have sex can get me aroused, but I mean, I think that's pretty darn common. That's why there's porn.
Is that something you had to get used to as well? Like, was there a time when you went to these clubs where you didn't know how to look, or like where, you know what I mean, like where to look, or
when you're
didn't
sitting
feel
down
appropriate?
when you're sitting down and you realize that the guy sitting next to you is getting a blowjob, and you're like, oh, okay, oh, I guess I can watch. Oh, wow, look at that, he shaved today.
Yeah.
So I mean, getting used to it being so okay with everyone is you start realizing, okay, this isn't so bad. So
Right. And you probably learn to read people, and you probably also like, because again, I think I'm conditioned. A lot of us are conditioned to like give people their privacy, but maybe it's safe to assume that if they're in public doing this, they're cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're sitting next to you, they want to be watched. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
It'd be weird if they turned around and said, "Excuse me, can we have some privacy?"
Exactly.
Get a room.
But I guess it would be a good time to also mention, though, that even though somebody is right next to you having sex, that doesn't mean it's an invite to touch or anything like that. It's really, your space is your space. You should not be touched unless you're asked, and you definitely should not engage in other people that are in a place situation unless you ask. But,
Definitely.
Good to know. I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
That's why they call it a scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't offer a
I
play
don't know if that's
pinky
why,
without being
but
invited. Yeah.
it makes more sense if you think of it that way. Like, oh, it's a scene. I'm watching a scene.
You know,
That doesn't mean I'm invited to the scene.
someone should make a pamphlet, you know, like just a private club protocol pamphlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pay.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe
Talk about the peas.
Maybe Was That an Orgy could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the
Just start to make notes.
the etiquette.
Yeah, and then we'll make
Sex
a
club etiquette.
downloadable PDF
Yeah.
about the PPPs. Private. There's anything. We'll find other P's in there.
Yeah.
We need more P's.
we can always find more bees.
I need
more
more
squirting
pee.
and penis.
Penis.
Well, do you have any favorite or best of stories? Like, I want to make sure we don't hit. Oh, it's six.
We hit
A quickie story. I'm just kidding.
You got a quickie.
I love quickies.
Time flies when you're talking about
I
it.
know,
Yeah.
just they're
fun.
fun.
It's like, how much fun can you squeeze into 10 or 15 minutes?
Yep.
A lot,
Yes,
as it
you
turns
can.
out.
Yeah. Well, no pun intended. You've come a long way, baby.
Yeah.
I wish I could have heard more about, like, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yeah,
There's always
but
more stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll see you after the podcast.
That's right.
We're going out for a
Well,
drink.
you're glowing. I think that's the pot of gold right there. You're radiant.
Yep, she blew up and now she's glowing. That's
Totally.
fantastic. Well, I'm happy for the happily ever after thus far, and
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This has been
yeah,
fun.
it was such
Yeah,
a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Great
I'm
talking
happy
to you.
for your liberation, and I hope all of you guys are inspired.
Yeah. Let's see. We should do the thing where we say you can write to us at wasthatAnorgy@gmail.com. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube.
And it helps
Yeah.
if you like us on YouTube and
Yeah.
subscribe, because then it eventually helps us get to a place where we might be able to like get a little ad money, because all of this comes out of her pocket.
And we do have a Patreon now.
Yes,
to
yes.
help my pocket.
Was That an Orgy Patreon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you enjoy the show, you can subscribe for like $1 a month.
Yeah.
And
we will start putting like bonus content in there.
boner content.
Boner content.
How fantastic. Yeah.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday. I can't handle you. I can't believe it.